the peace of a river flowing so gently to the strength of the sea. And I take delight in the love that is growing, just like a river between you and me. Oh, I take delight in the peace of a river flowing so gently to the strength of the sea. And I take delight in the love that is growing, just like a river between you and me.
Welcome, dear friends, both on Zoom and here in person. It's so happy to see you. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. As you know, our church is located here in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and is known as the home of the beautiful Innes paintings. I'm Judy Pickett, your worship associate today. I'm also chair of the membership committee, so if anybody is interested in joining, please let me know. We are a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in any of our activities, whether you are a member or not. To learn more about events, our church calendar is on our website, UUTarpon.org, or you can discuss activities with church members. Bonnie will be singing throughout the service, and you are welcome to hum along with the songs and hymns. However, if the Spirit moves you, when we get to Spirit of Life, you are welcome to sing into your mask. For those present with us in the building, we have connection cards available in the pews. They look like this. So if you're a visitor and you would like us to get more information and send it to you, there's a QR code, which is very high tech for us. You know, we just got it. So if you put your phone camera on this QR code, it will take you directly to the information sheet, and you don't have to write anything. And if you do write it, please leave this in the collection plates as you leave. Let's see. I said that. We're happy to have our own Reverend Kristina Spaude leading the service today, and music is provided by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst. I will now light the chalice with these words from Katie Gelfand. We light this chalice as a symbol of reunion. We reunite in this sanctuary to share the flow of our hearts with one another. We gather together in ritual to celebrate our fountains of joy, to hold each other through storms of grief, to guide one another through rapids of transformation, to rest together on the ponds of stillness. Together we honor the spirit of the water, its many forms, its life-giving essence.
Our story today comes from the Islamic tradition, and this telling is by Marilyn McFarlane, author of Sacred Myths, Stories of World Religions. One day, Muhammad told his friends and followers a story about a thirsty man, a well, and a dog. This was the story. A man left his home to take a long journey. It was a hot day, and he had not walked far before his head began to ache and his mouth felt dry. The sun blazed overhead, and the fields he passed were brown and withered, and no water could be seen. "I'm so thirsty. I must find water," he muttered. "Surely I will come to a well." Just as he had that thought, he saw a well up on the side of the road. Thankfully, he hurried to it, almost tasting the sweetness of the cool water that laid in its depths. But when he peered into the well, he saw no water. The well was dry. Disheartened and even more thirsty now, he continued along the scorching road, hoping to find another well. Sure enough, before long, he saw one. "At last, water," he whispered, looking into the well. But it, too, was dry. There wasn't a drop of moisture in the land. With a parched throat and feeling weak, the man walked on. "I can't go much further without water," he thought. And then he saw a well. Almost afraid to hope, he looked over the edge. Far below, in the darkness, water sparkled. "Allah be praised," the man said. He looked around for a rope and bucket to lower into the well, to bring up the life-giving water. There was no rope, nor a bucket. How could he reach the water he needed so badly? Only one way remained. If the water could not come up to him, he would have to go down to it. He scrambled over the top and, carefully bracing himself against the sides with his arms and feet, descended into the well. Deeper and deeper he went, until at last he touched the cool, wet water. Cupping his hands, he scooped the water and drank and drank. He murmured, "Praise Allah for the liquid of life." Feeling much better, he began the long, difficult climb up out of the well. At last, he reached the top and stood on the road under the hot sun. He was starting to walk away when he heard a sound, a sad, soft whine. He looked down and saw a dog sniffing at the ground. The dog looked miserable. His eyes were glazed, and he was panting with thirst. He came up to the man and licked the edge of his robe, which was still wet from his trip into the well. "This poor animal is as thirsty as I was," he thought. "He'll die in this heat if he doesn't get water." The dog looked up at the man and wagged his tail, grateful for the bit of moisture. The man made his decision. "Wait here," he said. "I will bring you some water." And so into the well he went. Again, he descended down all the way to the bottom where the cool liquid lay. And when he got there, the man braced himself against the walls of the well and took off his soft leather boots. He dipped one boot and then the other into the water and filled them. He clamped the tops of the boots between his teeth and began to climb up again. This time, the trip to the top was much harder. The heavy, water-filled boots pulled on his mouth and his teeth hurt. Once the slick, wet leather slipped and he almost dropped the boots, but he tightened his grip and held on. Slowly, he kept climbing until he reached the top. When he was on the ground again, he knelt and opened the boots so the dog could drink. The dog drank all the water in both boots, his tail wagging happily. The man smiled. "Now neither of us will die from thirst," he said. And he pulled on his damp boots, patted the dog again, and continued on his way. Allah was pleased by this kind act. He was so pleased that all the man's past sins were forgiven. And years later, when the kind man died, his soul was taken to heaven. The blessed Prophet Muhammad concluded his story by saying, "You too will be rewarded for being good to all living creatures."
When we play by the waters in the sunshine, we take just a little bit to carry away, so it can join with our brothers and our sisters when we come back together. Seems to lose its way down the hills, through the valley, all the way to the sea. Look, it's all the same water here when you and me. So when we play by the water in the we take just a little bit to carry away, so it can join with our brothers and our sisters when we come back together here again. Oh, thank you, planet Earth, for this sweet sacred flow. There's no other place about the places we've been, 'cause when we play by the waters in the summer, we take just a little bit to carry away, so we can join with our brothers and our sisters when we come back together here again.
Now is the time in the service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. Ours is a free faith, and for it to remain so, the church is self-sustaining financially. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button, or you may mail your offerings to the church at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. For those of you with with us in person, we ask that you place your offering in the offering plates as you exit the church. The offering will now be given and received.
The wheel of the water goes round and round, and the wheel of the water goes round. The wheel of the water goes round and round, and the wheel of the water goes round. Clouds rain down, thunder and lightning pound. Clouds rain down, thunder and lightning pound. See the vapors rise, see them cloud the skies. See the vapors rise, see them cloud the skies. Springs bubble, bubble up, springs bubble, bubble up. Water flows down, down, trickle, trickle down, down to the ocean, trickle, trickle down. Water flows down, down, trickle, trickle down, down to the ocean, trickle, trickle down. The wheel of the water goes round and round, and the wheel of the water goes round. The wheel of the water goes round and round, the wheel of the water goes round.
Our reading today comes from Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. This is Rainmaker, You Could Be the Water. By the scent of water alone, the withered vine comes back to life. And thus, wherever the land is dry and hard, you could be the water. Or you could be the iron blade disking the earth open. Or you could be the acequia, the mother ditch, carrying the water from the river to the fields to grow the flowers for the farmers. Or you could be the honest engineer, mapping the dams that could remain to serve the venerable all instead of only the very few. You could be the battered vessel for carrying the water by hand, or you could be the one who stores the water. You could be the one who protects the water, or the one who blesses it, or the one who pours it. Or you could be the tired ground that receives it, or you could be the scorched seed that drinks it, or you could be the vine, green growing over land in all your wild audacity. There's a Hasidic story that some of you may know that goes, a child went outside every day into the woods, often in the afternoon. The child would disappear for hours at a time, contenting himself and keeping occupied all the while. Finally, curious about what it is that the child has found so interesting in the woods, their parent asks, "What is it you do when you go to the woods every day?" The child replies, "Oh, I go to be with God." The parent says to the child, "But you know that God is the same everywhere." And the child answers, "Yes, but I am not." For the child, they returned to their well every day, helping keep them grounded and filled. That sacred time that likely took many shapes, conversations with and among the animals and plants, the sky and the stream, nurtured creativity, imagination, joy, healthy independence, interconnectedness, respect for the world, and stewardship of self and others. They kept connected to their well, to God, to that which fed them more than food or drink alone could. We have learned again and again that this congregation is more than this building, beautiful as it is. That we extend beyond these paintings and the walls, beyond even our outdoor sanctuary. And still, we seem to be called back not only to this place, but to the others who are also called to the wonder of this place. We are returning to our well. Over the course of our lives, we return to the wells, seeking comfort in times of need, seeking to quench our thirst in times of drought, seeking support in times when we need to be carried, seeking peace in times of storms, and seeking to celebrate in times of abundance and joy. I suspect we have each experienced all of these many times over the last 18 months. I'm sure we have all felt that deep soul thirst, longing for the familiar, for connection, for some sense of normalcy in our lives, only to find more often than not that the well is dry. And we set off to find another, only to find that well is dry too. But today, we are gathered in community, reminded of its meaning and value again as we have wandered the desert again, alternating between disheartened and exhausted, and eager and hopeful, and about 10,000 other things. Dare we hope that this will be the time the well is ready and prepared to give us what we need? And what if we arrive at the well like the man in the story, to find the water is there, but we have to work to get it? Are we willing to do that work? Or will we complain at the injustice of it all and move on in hopes of finding another well? Who among us are also seeking to steward our inheritance from those who came before, as well as our legacy for those who will follow? Wells, like people, also need to be replenished. Where there are many wells, water moves more quickly and lowers the water levels available to everyone. When there is little rain, the levels may lower significantly, even to the point of drought, of completely drying out. The cycle follows natural weather patterns, but can sometimes also be tended artificially. With access to rainwater and moving groundwater, the longest surviving wells have been self-sustaining. And so must we too be, not only as individuals, but as a congregation as a whole. We must have practices that not only inspire us to return, but to connect, not just on Sunday mornings, but throughout the days, over the course of weeks and months and years, and across the generations, not just between the past, present, and future, but among those present with us each week. This is how churches and the congregations that live in them continue over time, through the generosity and stewardship of those who want to see the congregation continue and grow, and who are committed to the work of making it so. Just as we cannot assume that this congregation will simply continue into perpetuity without the stewardship in all the senses that we can offer now, drawing too on the generosity of the past. We cannot assume that our own wells will simply thrive without our own tending and care. And so we return to the well, inside our hearts and spirits, in this building, in this community, seeking for water to sustain us. Or perhaps today we are not seeking water to sustain us, but are here to make an offering of water for others, so that they might be carried through this time. Perhaps together we will find a way to care for each other and the greater good, and find that when we share, we all have what we need. Today, you are the water, or are you the withered vine? Perhaps the hard and dry land, or the iron blade to split it open. Perhaps the ditch, or the rivers, or the farms, or the flowers. Wherever you notice yourself in this moment and in this week, we know that this will shift and change over time, that you will take on each of these roles as life's rhythm, like a river or tide, continues to move as the days pass. And knowing how we have experienced both hardship and joy, the deep thirst and anguish of despair, and have been met with kindness, empathy, and generosity by and from others, we are reminded that none of us makes it through alone. Following a service created for the Women and Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists held in 1980, water ceremonies were brought to our congregations throughout Unitarian Universalism. Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview created the service and a new ritual that, as they say, spoke to our connectedness to one another, to the totality of life, and to our place on this planet. They asked some of the attendees to bring water with them from the places they called home, and shared the significance of those waters as they poured them into a communal bowl. This is the beginning of a ritual many of us have come to look forward to each year. It is a reminder that we are all connected, that all waters lead to the same source, and then go round the whole world again and again throughout time. This may feel especially connecting, not only regarding our place among the life and lives of this planet, but also thinking to our religious traditions that remind us we come from one love and will be returned to it. I'm going to talk about the ritual for this year, but we aren't going to do anything yet. I will be clear at the end of the service when our time will begin. But this year, juggling the timing of reopening, multi-platform worship, COVID, and other factors, has invited an opportunity for creativity in meaning making and ritual sharing. And so this year, the waters are not gathered by you, but are instead pre-poured and provided for you to use. We have a communal bowl to pour the waters into. And what I am asking you to reflect on this year as you share the waters is to connect some blessing to one of the words of the 5 smooth stones that are in our garden. The words on these stones are inspired by Unitarian theologian and minister James Luther Adams' 5 smooth stones of liberal religion, and speak to how we want to live our faith in our individual and collective lives. The words on the stones are love, justice, joy, courage, and hope, and you may choose from any of them. Think of a blessing for yourself and for this congregation, both an aspiration and commitment that you will offer over the coming year. And even if you are new here or just visiting and aren't sure what to offer, your love and support for the well-being of this community will be appreciated. For those of you who will be participating from home, please share in the chat which word you would like the water poured in connection with, and we will add that once everyone present has had a chance to do so. If you are unsure how to add this into the chat, please wait until the service has ended and offer a spoken edition. Through reflection and ritual, may we together renew our individual and collective wells, that we may return to them again and again for the rest of our days and for generations yet to come. I invite you now to hum along with our closing hymn, number 1011 in the Teal hymnal, Return Again, which Bonnie will sing for us. Our closing words come from Jean Harrison Newyar, who has written in The Gift of Faith. In the lore of ancient China, there is a story of a philosopher who was asked, "Where is the road called hope?" He replied, "It does not exist, but as people move forward upon it, it comes into being." I invite you to continue moving forward on this ever-widening path called hope with me. Bonnie will now sing Spirit of Life, hymn number 123, found in the Gray hymnal. You are welcome to hum along.
We hope that you found meaning in today's service. We close with these words from Elizabeth Saley Jones as we extinguish our flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
In a moment, Bonnie will begin the postlude, and this is when I am going to invite you to participate in our water ceremony ritual. I'm going to invite the seated folks in the chairs to come up first, then the first set of pews, then the second set of pews. We will collect the folks from the forum room, and then we will include the folks who are participating from home. Again, we ask that you think about an aspiration and commitment that you have for yourselves and the congregation, reflecting somehow on one of the 5 smooth stones in the garden. The themes are hope, joy, love, courage, and justice. And there are water containers up here, each one labeled. Then, if you would please join us for our fountain dedication that will begin at 11:30. You can make your way out either of these sets of doors out front if you would like to stay for that.